Hello and welcome to another edition of Dbe News. Thank you for staying with us. You can watch this bulletin every Friday either at 12 p.m. on the Dbe TV channel 122 if you have an OpenView decoder, or Briggs TV channel 509 at 4:30 in the afternoon if you are a StarSat subscriber, or watch it on the Department of Basic Education's YouTube channel. Remember to share the link with your friends, family, and anyone in your circles. My name is Tsehohacho Moagi. Let's take a look at the top stories this week. It was the first week of full-time attendance for all learners throughout the country, but it wasn't without its glitches. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga and Deputy Dr. Regina Mhaule launched the comprehensive sexuality education radio drama series. The Free State Education Department embarks on roadshows as the ECD migration nears. We would like to hear from you, so please do get in touch with us by using our social media platforms on Twitter at DBE_SA and at Dbe TV News, Facebook DBESA, Instagram DBESA. You can use the hashtag Dbe News. Let's start here. This week saw the first week of full-time attendance of all learners to school. Cabinet announced this decision and removed the 1-meter social distancing requirement and scrapped the rotational learning. It was the first time since March 2020 that all learners returned to school after rotational learning had to be implemented due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Basic Education Department welcomed the decision as it believed this would curb further learning losses in the sector.
Well, we are relieved that our schools are now going back to normal, and we have seen many learners in many schools going back in large numbers, being excited to be back. It's been a long time since March 2020 that learners have been converging in schools at once at the same time for learning purposes. We are delighted that we've come to this point, and we are really grateful to the Cabinet and the NCCC for having taken this decision to allow for learning and teaching to resume in the way that we are used to it. Well, we understand that there are still measures that need to be followed, protocols that need to be adhered to in terms of preventing the spread of COVID-19, but we've worked with our schools, provinces, districts, and circuit offices to ensure that there is readiness and consciousness in terms of the compliance with the health and safety protocols. And we hope that our educators and our learners and staff in school will work with us to ensure that this happens.
The first day and week, however, was not without its challenges, as some schools could not welcome back all their learners due to capacity challenges.
There are some schools that did not see the full return of all their learners because of challenges that existed in terms of space, but also planning, because some schools over-admitted. And when the Cabinet took the decision that learning must resume in the way that we know it, those schools experienced challenges. So we saw some schools sending learners back, asking them to return another day because they were still finalizing the timetabling, which needed to be changed from rotational to daily attendance. And that daily attendance needed to be planned carefully to ensure that every learner is in school and no one is left behind. We have seen learners coming through to schools prepared to learn, but they were told that they should go back. They would be told when to return because the schools were still preparing the physical environment to receive all the learners. But it's something that we believe will be resolved in a matter of days, and that in the next week and the next few weeks and months, things will settle down and that learning and teaching will continue without any further glitches. So we appeal to members of the public to please cooperate with the schools, support schools, make sure that teachers get the support that they deserve for them to be able to get on with the core business of education, which is teaching the learners, but also are asking that learners arrive on time so that we are able to cover as much of the work as possible that we're not able to cover in the previous period due to COVID-19. So now we are here and we're thankful that we're now able to continue in this particular way.
In KZN, the province had to order mobile classrooms following storms and heavy rains that damaged some of the schools.
When we were planning for reopening of schools this year, we were planning on assumption that all learners were coming back in January. So we identified all schools which need mobile classrooms and those which were storm damaged, where it affected learning and teaching space. And then we started procuring mobile classrooms. And as of now, we ordered 244 mobile classrooms. But because the manufacturers are having a backlog, because there are many schools that need mobile classrooms, then we have already provided 190. So the balance is being manufactured.
Now, staying with that province, on the first day of full-time attendance, some learners in KZN at Hoërskool Richards Bay were hospitalized due to a suspected gas leak in or around the school. It's understood most of these learners have since been discharged from hospital. Stay tuned. After the break, we get more details about the comprehensive sexuality education radio lessons.
The Integrated School Health Program is a partnership between the Department of Basic Education, the Department of Health, as well as the Department of Social Development. It was launched in 2012 by the then President of the country. We have linked up every school to a health clinic and a named school health nurse, so that when we are finding cases, for example, of children or even educators that are symptomatic, we isolate them in a dedicated area and then we get in touch with the school health team. Schools, as we know, serve many needs that the children have. They serve an education need, but they do more than that. They serve the social needs of children. We also are able to serve their nutrition needs through school feeding. Health services are provided, so issues around immunization, for example, and health education are covered within schools. We are also a forum wherein we can provide psychosocial support to our children. And in many ways, what COVID-19 has done is to bring to the fore a whole lot of the issues that we've already been dealing with within our society. And so really opening schools again and getting children to come into school again is meeting many more of the needs than what is evident from people outside. Our schools provide safety for our children, away from the negative influences and the abuse that they sometimes are faced with in communities.
Welcome back. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga and Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule launched the comprehensive sexuality education radio lessons at Hitikane Primary School in Soweto. The radio drama series titled Life on Madlala Street was adapted from the CSE lessons taught in life skills and life orientation. It is aimed at teaching learners the values of gender equality, particularly regarding the prevention of gender-based violence and the prevention of learner pregnancy. Our reporter, Nandika Bierkes, was there and filed this report.
In a bid to remind parents and learners of the importance of comprehensive sexuality education, the Basic Education Department went into Soweto to launch the radio lessons. The radio lessons handed over to the DBE by the USAID or USAID Mission Director are intended to supplement teaching and learning in the classroom and at home.
This program gives us a chance to talk. Let's talk about these things because the consequences are dire. Are dire. Teenage pregnancy is a big problem for young. It's a big problem. And we want to talk about it. I don't want next time when I meet you say, "Oh, my child, how did we come here?" And you say, "Mama, we didn't know. If I knew, I would not have gone this way." I don't want you to say, "If I knew." Let's deal with it. Let's help you know Not that was saying go. Because they said we and it's many religious groups, that's why I link it to the Bible. That so these things are not spoken about. And I said to them, but the kids who fell pregnant, we never sent them. We have not spoken. We're just saying they shouldn't go in that direction. They should understand their bodies. They should understand the pressures that are brought to them. And they should know the consequences without scaring them. But they should know what the consequences are, and they should know. So I'm really happy. I'm very grateful to the USID for partnering us in this program. For us, it's a very important program. As a department, as a country, we really want our girl children to grow up understanding their bodies, their conduct, their behavior. But I'm also happy that we have linked it, Chief Director, to our life skills, because these things are limited.
Motshekga added the radio drama series titled Life on Madlala Street will go a long way in educating children about sexuality and all sexual matters.
This drama series of Life at Madlala, for us, it's a last-ditch effort to scale up our prevention message through the medium of radio. Because rightfully, or not rightfully, understandably, when children fall pregnant, the first thing is, what is education doing? And I appreciate that we have an opportunity to teach our kids, and that's why people ask us, what are we doing? Sometimes I got cheeky, and I just understood when parents were angry with me in Northern Cape, when they say teenage pregnancy, and we're really throwing their hands up and said, but these kids, I should be asking you why to send pregnant children to schools, because they probably fell pregnant in your homes. But that's not the issue now. The issue is that ourselves and parents have to make whatever efforts we can to enlighten and educate our kids about sexuality and all related matters. Because in simple language, our job is to protect the most vulnerable in our society, women and girls, but boys equally.
She also said this drama series will assist to deal with the scourge of unintended and unwanted pregnancies amongst school children.
But also it's to enlighten and educate us, our kids, about being trapped in abusive relationships. Because it's one of our problems. Especially because my understanding, they saw us understanding, so they think love is about understanding, and therefore sometimes really giving up to abuse. So we really want them to really understand and appreciate the fact that they don't have to stay in abusive relationships. We also want, as I say, what excites me about this program is to enable us as a sector to deal with the scourge of unintended and unplanned pregnancies among school children. Because as I said, not even one child fell pregnant when I asked them to say, how did we get there? It says, hi mama, I was looking for what I really like children. I wanted something to play with. They never said so. They say, if I knew, I would not have been here. So we really do want to make sure that we can deal with these unintended pregnancies. We also have to deal with questions of self-worth. But my boyfriend tutor our smart fan to zame maso zame the fanti and it's all things that are related that I hope that we'll be able to do.
Meanwhile, the principal at Hitakani Primary School said the CSE was initially a challenge.
When it comes to CSE, at the beginning we had a great challenge after educators attended the training or the workshops conducted by the NGO. Learners didn't take it as it was necessary. They thought possible we are bringing something strange in our school. Hence, many parents came and said to us their learners were not going to learn the program because it is above their level. But after one parents meeting where we invited a district official to come and explain and clear what sexuality education it's all about, We saw cooperation from learners and teachers. We had courage to go to classes and they taught freely, but the challenge was where male teachers, especially in grade 7, they had to teach some topics which were supposed to be taught by females. So in that case, as a school, we arranged that such topics be treated by female educators. And to date, we see the importance of CSC because these ladies especially, they are able to cope with their body changes, their physical changes, and also their approach on what CSC it's all about. So all in all, this CSC, it's so very much important to be taught from grade 4 upwards.
A teacher at the school says CSC is helpful as it gives learners the freedom to speak out about possible abuse they may be experiencing.
As a young educator teaching life skills on sexuality education, I find it very interesting. Reason being, we get to teach these learners about themselves, about their body image, about their self-concept, about their self-esteem, about having confidence, and they have to be able to take decisions for themselves. They have to be responsible for their own decisions. And again, we have realized that our learners come from different backgrounds and with different challenges, of which they get to experience different types of abuses and violence. And sometimes, in some instances, they are unable to talk to their own parents. So as their teachers, they find it even easier to can communicate such behaviors with us, because we talk about these things on a daily basis. And one more thing is that our kids, we also tell them about when to report this abuse and when to report this violence, and also to whom can they report to, and how do they get to go about that route when they identify the violence going on inside school, at their homes, and even in the community.
A learner from Hitakane Primary School says the lessons have taught her to always respect herself and others.
It helped me to set smart goals and make good choices in life. There are things that we have learned in LO that they cannot openly discuss with my parents, but easy for me to discuss with my teacher. We have learned a lot about development happening in my body, as well as to respect myself and others at all times.
The 11 radio lessons focused on teaching learners in school the values of gender equality and the prevention of gender-based violence. So how does the cast feel to have been a part of this and the value of CSE?
I think it plays a very vital role in our community because, in the last years, we used to say to the learners that they need to abstain, and now we acknowledge the fact that a lot of learners are now sexually active. So we're saying now, if you are sexually active, what are the methods or ways to be safer? Because now we understand if we're preaching be safe, or abstain, rather than saying to them, we acknowledge the fact that you are having sexual intercourse right now. Now we are saying there are ways to help you to deal with the whole situation. So it plays a very vital role in our community because now learners are unable to speak to their parents, or rather they're uncomfortable with their parents. So now at schools we have a platform to say now they can ask relevant questions without being judged, and we as teachers, we don't even impose our values to these learners, So we have a safe environment, so it plays a very vital role.
So now the CSE scripted lesson plans are now in radio. How do you feel this is going to benefit the teaching?
I'm very excited about that because, we are able to reach a lot of learners now. Not all learners have televisions at home, and radio, I think it's a cheaper medium of reaching these learners, and it also creates a platform for learners to have conversations with their parents, because parents will be there while they're listening to these things. So I think I'm very excited about it, and I hope that learners and parents will tune in, and it will spark these conversations that we want to happen at home.
I learned that you should not bully others, and if you are bullied, you should not keep quiet about it, because it could lead to very serious damage, and you should tell your teacher or parents, and eventually you'll be back to normal.
I feel that it was a life-changing experience, because I don't think many people get to experience such, going into a studio, reading, and just doing something for people who might need it, as there are many people who are uneducated about the topics that are discussed on life on Makala Street. And I feel that it's a great thing that the people who have organized this, and they've just done a great thing creating this, and I thank them, and I hope that people will learn from what is spoken about in Life on Makala Street, and I hope that those who have already suffered what is discussed in Life on Makala Street learn from their mistakes and try and teach their own children to do better.
Now, the Basic Education Department has briefed Parliament on the progress regarding the amendments to the basic education laws. Portfolio committee members were told this week that the work to make changes to the legislation governing the basic education sector had ended. The department said it is now up to parliamentarians to take the matter forward. One of the key changes is the increase in the jail term of people found guilty of preventing children from going to school. Currently, the South African Schools Act says 6 months is the maximum penalty, whereas the amendment calls for a 12 months imprisonment for the offence. Coming up, we hear from the Free State Education Department as they prepare for the early childhood development migration to the sector.
So the Dbe Foundation renders services to victims of child abuse and their families, providing psychosocial support and medical legal support. It is critical that children are provided with this opportunity of returning to schools. A lot of them are suffering as a result of COVID-19, the unintended consequences of COVID-19, the deprivations that children are subjected to. We're looking at where previously children had access to feeding schemes. Now children are facing starvation, so that's a deprivation. Many children are presenting with increased levels of anxiety, fear, confusion, trauma, and a lot of other mental health conditions. The reality is that children are going to be infected regardless of wherever they are. The vector of transmission one needs to realize is that it's adult on child and not child on adult. COVID exists everywhere. It's within the home environment, within the surrounding areas. Less children have died of COVID-19. What we are faced with is that more children are going to be dying of starvation and food nutrition and food security.
Welcome back. The Basic Education Department, together with the Department of Social Development, are gearing up for the early childhood development migration from DSD to DBE. The shift is expected to happen in April this year. The aim of the migration progress is for the improvement of the development of children and the quality of ECD education in providing the best support to children from an early age onwards. Both departments pledge that during the transition progress, there will not be any interruption to service delivery, and they will continue to work together in this regard. Each province has been holding consultative meetings and roadshows to explain how the shift will work. Let's hear then from the Free State Department.
Re tsamaya mo didikeng tsa rona in all the 5 districts to talk to the practitioners and the matrons about function shift. We need to explain to them what does this function shift entail. Re rata go bona setšhaba sa rona se tlhaloganya le go utlwisisa sentle gore ha re bua ka go tlogeng ga bone ka mo social development di-functions di tla ka mo education go tsamaya eng go sala eng, mme re ba tlhalosetsa ka botlalo gore we are only taking part of section 5 and the whole of section 6, which is talking about more on education. Re mo Thabanchu re tla be re tloga re ya Botshabelo ka setse re dirile di-district tse ding ya ka Thabo Mofutsanyana, Fezile, Dbe.
Because the foundation phase is so important in the whole country, not only in the Free State, the government thought that it is important to support the foundation phase. That foundation, 2 years before grade R, actually even beyond, all the years before grade 1, 0 to 4 years. That is a very important stage in the development of the child.
Re tlile sememo mo roadshowng ya education le social development for re tlo utlwa ka shifting ya di-ECD from go ya department. Re thabile haholo re le batho ba di-PhD di-matron ebile haholo go tlo utlwa ka se ba se bolela taba ba tlo go hlakisetsa ka tsone ha di shifta na shifta ka tsela e ntseng jwang.
Ke itumeletse roadshow ya today ha education e kopane le social development ba tlo gore tlhalosetsa gore ntho ya shifting ha e se gore education e tsa degree ke hela gore education e tsaya e thusa social development ka mosebetsi o mongwe that is why re shiftelang ko education.
Re bua ka hore re batla ho etsa bosho ba hore syllabus e a tshwana. Ha ngwana re re ngwana o ready for school a ba tshwana di-gretchen kaofela. Ya bobedi re re bana ba thole quality early learning, not only early learning. Ke yone ntho re batla le lekane ka thuto le ka fapana fela ka gona le etsa jwang.
That's how we end the bulletin this week on Channel 122 on OpenView, on YouTube and on Dbe TV Channel 509 Starset. Now, before we go, we want to make an appeal to you to protect your schools. Don't burn down or vandalize schools. It can only take us backwards. Let's work together to protect our schools. Play your part. Ranza Shikolo Shawena. Thank you for watching.